YouTube, what is y'all doing? So I'm gonna just get straight to the point. We have a lot of stuff over here, a lot of parts over here for my GS400. And some of y'all may not know what this is, but I'm gonna get into all of that. It's basically a timing kit. I am gonna be doing a timing belt on this car. So this is my GS400. I bought this car like 4 or 5 months ago, maybe even 6 months ago. And that video is on my channel. I'll leave a link in the description. But this is my 2000 Lexus GS400. It has about 210,000 miles on it. I drove all the way to Ohio to get it. It's a really nice car. I wrapped it in this gray color. It's called like slate gray. Does have the black interior with the Nakamichi sound system. And we do have the V8 under here, as I mentioned. This is a GS400, so this is a 4-liter V8. And I picked up this car, drove to Ohio to get it. But one of the things that has disturbed me about this car since I got it is the infamous timing belt. So for those of you who are not familiar with cars, the timing belt is basically what keeps the engine in time. And I'll explain it more as I go about replacing mine. But basically you have a crank, you have a top part of the engine, a bottom part of the engine, and the crank is in the bottom part of the engine. And the crank is basically what supplies power to your transmission and your wheels and things like that. And you have a top end of the motor, which basically controls like you getting fuel, air, and spark, because those are the 3 things you need to make an engine run. So the engine needs to know, based on where the pistons are, which are attached to the crank, when to introduce gas or fuel, air, and spark. The way it knows that is basically from the timing belt. So if you don't replace that, what happens is you have valves that open that introduce these things like air and gas. If the timing belt breaks, the crank's still spinning, the piston goes up. So the timing belt is broken, it doesn't know that, so a valve stays open and it collides with the timing belt. Or I'm sorry, it collides with the piston. At that point, the engine is gone. So a lot of people replace it for peace of mind. I've never actually heard of one breaking on this engine, and I don't want to. That's why I'm doing this job. So I went out, done my research. I got like 17 different steps on how to do this. I have never done a timing belt job in my life, so this is gonna be an interesting thing for me. It's gonna be a learning experience, but I'm hoping that I can encourage y'all, if I'm successful with this, to get out and do your own projects and like not pay nobody for it. Just jump in. Anything that you feel like a task that's, you know, insurmountable, is gonna require a lot for you, just tackle it. You know, I'm hoping to instill encouragement in y'all by doing this job myself, because it's gonna be a lot of work. So the first thing that we need to do is get the car off of the ground. We're gonna need to be able to get under the car and remove the underbelly tray. And the first thing that we need to do is take that off, and then the radiator needs to come out. So in order to remove the radiator, gotta take this intake off and all that stuff. And I gotta drain the radiator. Luckily for me, I got all new fluid that I'm gonna put in there. So we're changing out the radiator too. It's just starting to change colors a little bit. I don't know how well y'all can see that. Yeah, you can see it's kind of like turning colors a bit. Whereas this one, the new one, you see it's just black. So when it starts doing that, it's time to replace it. But yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what we're gonna be tackling this weekend in this video. Let's just jump right in. All right, so moving underneath the car, we have this radiator right here, and it has like an actual drain tube right here we can use to drain our coolant. So get my bucket and put it underneath, and then you want to twist this, which is probably not going to be easy to do. You'll see coolant start coming through there. So we'll let that drain and move up top while that's draining. All right, y'all, I should have told y'all this before you drain the radiator, but if you take the cap off of the radiator, that'll help it drain faster because now you're getting air in there and it's forcing the cooling out. So the next thing we need to do is take our intake duct off. We probably need to get all of this whole intake system out, and then we can go ahead and start taking the clamps off of our radiator and unbolting it. All right, so now that we got the whole intake setup off, it's time to go underneath the vehicle and disconnect the rest of the radiator lines and hoses, and then we can go ahead and start unscrewing the radiator. All right, YouTube, so I got everything taken off at the bottom, all the hoses. There's 2 transmission lines that's running to the bottom of the radiator because it's a transmission cooler on here as well. You're gonna lose some transmission fluid, be prepared to replace that. But I got everything disconnected. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and start taking off these top bolts, and I also need to get this upper radiator hose loose as well. All right, so once you get this up, it's 2 connectors on this side that you gotta take out. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect those. YouTube, look how filthy this radiator is. I'm surprised this car was still cooling. This was gonna get replaced one way or another, but I'm just glad that I got it out. So now, what I'm probably gonna do for the rest of the night, I pretty much got where I wanted to get tonight. Just getting the radiator out so I can have access to the front of the engine. I might take the timing covers off. We'll see. The top 2 timing covers off, we'll see. But I really think my time will be best spent go ahead and swapping the stuff over to the radiator, because that'll be a huge lift for me, a break for me getting that out of the way. So I think I might go ahead and try that. All right, YouTube, as promised, we are about to swap the fan assembly off of my old radiator onto the new one, and I'm probably just gonna time lapse this because it's just bolts and screws. YouTube, we accomplished everything we wanted to accomplish today. We got the radiator put together. Now we're gonna get up in the morning and just bang the rest out tomorrow. All right, y'all, new day. As you can see, the sun is out. So where we last left off, we took the radiator assembly out, put it together. It's still sitting over there. That's pretty much ready to go back into the car. But now we got to go ahead and start getting into the more technical stuff. Today, what we're going to be doing is taking the timing belt off. We're going to go to full mile today. So next step is getting these top timing covers off. But before we do that, we need to get this serpentine belt off, which I'm going to work on that next. And then we're going to get the timing covers off. And that's going to give us our first real look at what our timing belt looks like. I've already seen it and I'm not impressed by it. But that's going to give us our first real look. We got the upper timing belt covers off, as well as the serpentine belt. And I'm gonna zoom in on this belt so y'all can see what it looks like. And again, I don't know if the camera's actually doing it much justice. Let me see. But you can see it's really shiny, it's cracking. I already see some teeth in here that look a little worn. So I think I'm doing a good job by replacing it. So we're at the point now where we can start removing the, I think this is called the idler assembly here in the middle. So we gotta take off all of these pulleys, and then this plate will come off, and that'll give us access to the water pump, I believe. All right, YouTube, after many struggles, sorry, we finally got the top timing covers off. I had to take the alternator out to get that cover off down there. And there's a bolt that goes into the AC compressor down here. It's like 2 of them, they go up. I think on the 430 it's just 1, I'm not sure. But on the 1UZ, the 4-liter V8, it goes up like that. So you gotta take those out. Then you kind of got to get a pry bar to get that middle panel off. I'll show you the panel that I'm talking about. So yeah, this one right here, like I started going down the path of like actually taking these out. You don't have to do that. I'm probably gonna take this off anyway because it looks bad and I might paint it or something. But yeah, you don't have to take these off to take this out. There's 2 bolts on this side. One goes through here and all the rest of these. And this should come right out once you like put a pry bar on it or something, if it's been there for a while. So we got that off, we got the other idler off, and now it's time to go ahead and attack this crank. This is the most terrifying part. This is the part I'm most concerned about because this is the part that most people have a lot of problems with. That's gonna be the most difficult part as far as getting this stuff off is what I've heard, because that bolt sometimes doesn't want to come out. I'm praying to God that mine just comes right out. All right, so I think this crank bolt is a 19, so I'm gonna get my Milwaukee ready. That's definitely not a 19, but I found a 7/8 in my tools that'll fit it. So we just gonna give it a go and see what happens, y'all. All right, so this is the bump start method. Y'all see what it has come to. I don't have another way to get that off. There is a special tool you can get, but I couldn't find it and get it in time for doing this job, so I guess I'm gonna just give it a go and see what happens. All right, y'all, so for the bump start method, you don't actually want to start the car, you just want the starter to engage. So to keep the car from actually starting, I've unplugged all of my coils, so we shouldn't have any fire, which will prevent the car from starting. It's probably gonna throw a check engine light, but I got a code reader I can clean it with, so we finna give it a go.
Why you put it back in?
All right, YouTube, I believe I got the car in top dead center. It's time. So we got right here is, okay, I guess my light is dead. You can see this is supposed to line with the T. This little arrow-like thing. Then on the driver's side, you got a dot that aligns with the T. And then down here at the crank, you got this gouge right here, and it's supposed to line with this little dowel. So it looks like we're in time. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the crank bolt. And the last thing y'all saw me use the bump start method to take the crank bolt out, and it worked. So we can move along. All right, y'all, I got the crank off. I use a crank puller. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it. It's pretty straightforward how to use it. Just stick it into the crank like that, and then you twist this in and it just pulls it out like that. Pretty straightforward to use. Put that back down. So now we are to where we want to be. You can see the timing belt in full. And y'all can see how much oil my motor has been leaking down here. Anyway, we're gonna be addressing these oil leaks in another video. I do want to replace my crank seal. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I can't tell if it's leaking or not. But yeah, the next thing we need to do is get the actual tensioner assembly out. So first thing you gotta do is take out the tensioner. I think it's some bolts that's like go right up under here on each side. So those have to come off, and then the tensioner will come out, and that'll take tension off the belt, and you can go ahead and pull it off. All right, YouTube, I took the tensioner out. It was right here. I put it over there. I'm going to show y'all what the tensioner looks like when I'm putting a new one in. But, so now I need to get the tensioner assembly off. So I got a 10 millimeter hex key in the right here. And I'm just going to twist it and take it off. My GoPro's finna die, so I'm going to throw this on charge. I'm going to knock out a lot of this on off video because it's just time consuming. If I hit any snags or anything to note, I'm going to let y'all know about it. But basically, what you're going to be doing next is replacing these two pulleys. You're going to be taking your water pump out and taking the belt off, of course. So let's get to it. So I moved to the phone. I'm just showing y'all what this belt looks like. Sorry. There's no record of this belt ever being changed. And other than the glossy part on the top side, the teeth look really good, honestly. And I don't know why it's held up this well, so this is actually surprising. So this job will probably never need to be done again on this car, for timing belt wear at least. You can see it's kind of like starting to fray a little bit on the sides, but I don't think this belt's ever been changed. Maybe it has. I have no record on it. It doesn't seem to have been. So this is interesting. Like, if this is a 20-year-old belt with 210,000 miles on it, I would say this is pretty good. Like, I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Does this belt look horrible? All right, YouTube. I wanted to update y'all. I got my timing belt out. Got it replaced. You can see my timing marks. I'm going to put pictures in here so you can see them clearly. But you can see everything is in here. We got the new water pump, new idler pulley, new tensioner pulley. So yeah, everything is looking good. So I'm getting ready to pull the tensioner pin out. Now this is gonna tighten everything up. And once I get that done, I'm gonna spin the engine around. I'm gonna put this cover back on, probably put the crank back on, and spin the engine around and make sure everything lines back up. So I just wanted to share it with y'all the joy of removing this pin. I've never done it before, but I think everything is ready to go. All right. So now we gotta get those covers back on and make sure it's still in time. Make sure we don't get no hiccups. Alright, as y'all can see, we got everything put back together for the most part. Still waiting on my intake. I broke a little plastic piece, so I'm using some epoxy to get that working. But I'm gonna fill the car up with distilled water because cooling is very expensive. And if there is a leak, I wanna know about it before I pour my coolant in there. So, be filling this up with distilled water. A lot of y'all be like, oh, it's gonna rust, so I'm using distilled water so we don't have to worry about that. Maybe we should get a funnel. Yeah, she's alive. We put a new timing belt on it and she sound good too. Woo! Alright, YouTube, so we're back. We finally got everything put together. I haven't actually driven the car yet, but I've let it idle, get up to operating temperature, the fans kick on, it's not overheating. Probably gonna carry some coolant with me when I drive it just in case it needs to be topped off or whatever. But that's gonna be it. I set out to achieve this goal and I did. Really put my mechanic skills to the test because I've never done anything like this involved before, so I'm proud of myself. Now, probably gonna go get myself a haircut. Definitely gonna drive this around for a while to make sure everything's okay. But I don't know, like you set goals and achieve them. Whatever you put your mind to, you can accomplish. I'm living proof of that. But as always, if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.